Hey y'all, and welcome back to the shed. So, had a little incident with the Renogy controller, the Rover 60 amp the other day. So, I think I may have gone over this in another video before, but essentially I used the load out on the Renogy 60 amp Rover controller. I thought it was a good function. It worked for some stuff that I needed it to work for. But the bummer of it is when I was at work the other day, kind of what happened was I went to check on the solar power, as I do frequently throughout the day, and I wasn't getting signal to the one core, the Renogy one core. I was like, interesting. So when I got home, I found out that it was totally off. It was blacked out. You'll see that in the video, part of the video anyways. And what was going on was that the Renogy itself wasn't working properly. It wasn't throwing a charge at the batteries at all at that point, and it also the load out wasn't functioning. So what I did is I turned off the load out, and then I started running a load off of the batteries to get the voltage down even further. And then finally, and I turned off the panels also. I disconnected panels, turned off the load out, started running things on the batteries, finally got the controller to kick back on, and then subsequently to get to the next day, I hooked up the one core to the batteries, and as opposed to the load out, and then ran it all day today without an incident, nothing at all. It ran fine actually. So what I'm up to now is I just hooked it back up to the load out again, exactly the way I had it when it failed. Now, kind of what's going on weather-wise here is the days are getting longer here in Southern Oregon. And essentially, as they get longer, we're having big bluebird days. Just nothing but sun outside. And my batteries were charged up by 11 o'clock in the morning, 100%. But, it's like the controller, I don't know what's going on in the load out option, which I've heard some other things about it, which people never specifically said why. I dug deeper and I found out that other people have had problems with the load out, shorting out basically, which is kind of what happened to me. At least it stopped working, okay? So I set everything up just the way it did. My theory is that after the battery's charged and it's doing this, cut off the panels, doing this dump load, whatever it did, it was still having some power coming out the load, which it should because it was running the one core. That's all it was hooked up to. In saying that, it triggered something. It didn't work, and so it shut down the whole controller basically and threw up a couple errors. But the thing of it is, it did throw up like an over voltage threshold on the battery, which it did not go over voltage. I checked all that. And then the other thing it threw up was the error light, solid white on the bottom row of the LEDs there, up here on the controller, going backwards, and which meant there was a fault. When I scrolled down through the menu, which I forgot to film that, essentially the fault was null, which is where it's always set at. If I went to it right now, go down to fault, and whoops, we can get down there really quick. Watch it say something. I can't even find it now. I'll find it here in a minute. We'll go over that in the video. So anyways, it said null, which means there was no fault. So it's not recognizing that something happened. So I filed a case with Renogy, told them all my parameters. And essentially, Renogy, if you're listening to this video, man, I'm not knocking you. I've had good luck with you on fixing problems. But this is something that's a little bit more like, makes me a little bit leery, I'll be honest with you. Because this summer I'm going to be running some bigger items off of this system. I don't want to have any problems. And I love my home. I love my animals. I don't want malfunction. This can be catastrophe. It can be a catastrophe. Excuse my... if something goes wrong. And there's going to be days when I'm gone. And this system will be running because it's going to be running my security system and stuff like that. So essentially, guys, we got to figure this out, man. It's got to be safe for us folks out there, right? So listen, I know this is a little bit longer of a video. I kind of want to check, get into it a little bit, let you guys check out what I'm doing here and see what we can all come up with, okay? Renogy, help me out on this one, you guys, if you haven't already. we can make this happen, but I'm really leery right now, mostly for safety, okay? Okay, just to make kind of a clear video of where everything's at, we go over here. Battery voltage currently 13.2 according to the controller. Load stayed on. Okay, this is where it's going to be set for tomorrow for the big day, and hopefully to replicate everything that's going on. Charge power 0 watts. Okay, so we'll move on. Fault is null, which is what it was the other day when this light here was on solid white. So let's take a look over here. We'll go into settings. Whoops. On. We'll go to here. So let's just scroll down through here first. Capacity 800. Over discharge voltage 14.6. Charge limit voltage 14.4. Equalization 14.4. Boost charge volt 14.2. By the way, if you guys don't like any of these and you got a good reason why, just let me know. We got a float voltage of 13.2. Boost charge 14.4. Low voltage, yada yada yada. You guys get it. Let's scroll on down. Low voltage discharge. 20 minutes boost time. Okay. That's about what we got there. Okay. Basically, the history, I set it for 5 days. And, you know, minimum was 13.2. Maximum was 14.4. Max charge. Max load current. You know, I've had it up to 800 watts before, but that was a gorgeous day, and we hit 726, which is good by me. You know, at the end of the day, that was over the 5-day span there. That was the highest one. So these are the settings. This is what the settings were before. They haven't changed since I set this system up. So again, you know, there's the system right there, and basically we're just trying to figure out what happened, guys. Okay, well, I came home today because I had some connectivity problems with the Renogy 1 core. Kind of hard to see there. And it was off, and then I noticed that my load was off. All my fuses were good. I came back over here. I've got a flashing battery light, which means battery fast flashing, which means it overcharged the battery. I've got the over voltage discharge set at 14.6 volts, so that should be fine. Charge limit 14.4, equalization 14.4, boost charge 14.2, float voltage 13.2, boost charge, whatever that is, 14.4. Everything is within limits or under limits. So I don't know what's wrong. I don't know what's wrong at all, Renogy. Help me out on this one. I've been endorsing you guys a lot. This is bad news. We're just getting into good sun here where I live in Southern Oregon. And essentially, the days are just going to be like this every single day. I don't want to have to deal with this, you guys, to be honest with you. I need something that works and is safe and does not wreck my batteries. So battery high voltage, 14.4 volts is what it's saying right now. Let's go over to here. Let's go down to 0. To 1. Yeah, just what it is, 14.4 volts. Okay, so in this next little clip, the system actually ran fine for a day or two with full sun, really no different conditions than the prior days when it was having errors. So the errors have been intermittent, but becoming more frequent. And that's what makes me think there's something else going on that's within the charger. I don't know. It makes me think there's a different thing going on here, but like some sort of an error somewhere. So let's just take a look at it, and you guys will see what I'm saying. It kind of ran in boost mode and did just fine, and then a couple days later, kaput, it went down. You'll see. Okay, so you can see that 11:35 a.m. we are 100% charged. Current is down. We're in full sun right now, 100% sun on those panels, and the controller is kicked into, well, I mean, it's still playing around up here, but we're definitely at where I set it, 14.4 for high voltage cutoff, or whatever you call it here. I always forget. So if we go to here, let's go to there. It's in boost charge right now. Okay, so we're in a boost charge, and let me see here. Let's take a look at the controller. So 92.9 volts coming in from the panels. Again, I have 8 100-watt Renogy solar panels, the 100 SSDs or whatever, and I've got 2 series to parallel. So 4 panels in series, 4 panels in series, and they're connected in parallel. Let's go ahead. Charging volts 14.3. DC load screen, in case anybody's interested in that. We've got 14.4 volts, 0.0 amps, and 1 watt. And that is just running the 1 core. So let's just wait and see what happens. Hey y'all, and welcome back to the shed. So today I came home. Well, first I was at work, and I went to check my DC Home app to see what was going on with the solar system. I do that on a regular basis, and last week there was an error, I'll be honest with you. And it's kind of doing it again today. You can kind of see a couple warning lights up there on the Renogy panel. The Rover controller, not the panel. So, at any rate, let's take a closer look at it. Basically, everything kind of shut down on me again. Not really sure why. It's kind of a bummer, really. I've really been enjoying the Renogy system. It's been working really well, but now I have obviously a little bit weary about things. So let's take a look at what's going on with the DC app also, because this is a new thing, okay? Okay, so coming on up here, this is like the screen it was on when I got home. Not the typical home screen. I've got a flashing battery, which means we'll have to look it up in the error codes really quick because I forgot. And then we have something that aired out here. I believe that means overcharged, so to speak. So let's take a quick look here. You can see I've got problems with the DC Home app also. So if we go down here to battery indicator, white flashing light, battery over voltage, which to my settings, and I just made a video about it last night, that shouldn't be an issue actually. Everything should be stopping unless this is a controller doing its job, and then it just blanks everything out, which is, I don't know. Maybe it's doing what it's supposed to, but heck if I know. So not sure what happened there. And then of course, because the last time it happened, I figured that the error came out of the DC load out on the Rover controller because this was affected. The Renogy Core 1 is not on. That's the only thing I can figure that happened, okay? The inverter's still working. It's still drawing off the batteries. Batteries down there doing their job. I've got the full 4-pack down there. Everything's working great, except for the old Rover right here. So let's take a look and see what the fault there is right now. Let's see if I can get away from that reflection a little bit. And sorry about the shaky camera here. Okay, so batteries are 100% flashing though. We got nothing going to the load now because it's malfunctioning and off, okay? From what I can see right now, in order to get the core 1 on, I'm going to have to hook it back up to the battery. So let's go down. Actually, let's go back. We're going to go over here. Okay, battery voltage 13.4. So it sank way down, actually. That makes me wonder. We're going to check something out here in a moment, okay? Device temperature is off. Charge, no, off. Fault. Battery OVD, over discharged. So we do, in fact, have an error. So let's check out a couple other things too, okay? Okay, so you can see here in our in the manual here over fault, not null. Null is normal, okay? Basically what we're having here is a OVD, which is an over voltage, and that kind of makes me curious because everything I got is set up to Renogy standards. I have 8 100-watt panels, 2 series, 1 parallel, okay, 2, you know what I mean, going to the Rover 60 amp controller, okay, and then it's all on a 12.8 volt system. It should be working fine, but unfortunately it's not. So let's go ahead and take a look at a couple other things, okay? Okay, step 1 from Renogy for troubleshooting is measure the voltage between the positive and negative terminals of the battery and observe if it reaches a controller's alarm value. Okay, so basically, you know, these 2 wires here, the black one here that goes to the shunt, and this red one that's coming up and going into this bus bar, come directly from my battery bank. Currently, I've got the leads to my controller. I've got one going over to the negative aspect, or the negative bus bar of the battery bank. And then the red one, of course, is right here is positive. So we touch it. We're coming in at 13.50. I'll confirm that on the battery bus bars also. I got no problem with that. 13.51, okay? So next, Renogy is saying, and that's nowhere near the alarm value. So we'll go ahead and pass on that. And then measure the voltage. Next, step 2 is measure the voltage between the battery plus and minus terminals on the controller and compare it with the battery voltage display on the controller screen. So let's pause the video. We're going to pop the cover off of that bad boy and do that. Okay, so I got the cover off, and what we'll do is go ahead and test the positive and the negative. So you can see the positive goes right down to the battery bank for charging, and then the negative, of course, runs right over to, kind of looks hidden in there, but it goes right to the negative bus bar right in there. Everything is directly connected to that. So right now I still have the voltage meter connected to the bus bar. So we'll just start with that. Right there, and then we'll check it another way. Now, we're coming in at 13.56 there. So that is higher there. Interesting, okay? Let's take a pause. 13.56, so. But it's not that much higher. They want a 0.2 deviation, so we're within threshold there. Okay, so it says if the voltage values are inconsistent or deviate by more than 0.2 volts, this suggests inaccurate controller sampling. If the voltage values are consistent or deviate by less than 0.2 volts, proceed to the next step. Okay, so let's take an overall check here though. Let's look back up here, and we've got, you know, on the screen here, we're at the fault null. Let's just go back to here. This is saying 13.6 in the controller, okay? So, 13.6 versus 13.5 is still not 0.2. So we're at 13.6 versus 13.5. It is actually charging now. The sucker just started charging out of nowhere, and these lights went off. Interesting. I think it's because I hit nothing. I didn't do a dang thing, actually. So this is interesting. And also the load out came back on, and I can tell that that happened because now this is back on. So this just shut down for whatever reason. What I want to do now, hold on a second here. Let's go ahead and get that light on so the camera works better. So next they're saying confirm the following settings on the controller: the battery voltage level, charging parameters. For the lithium iron phosphate batteries, if the overvoltage alarm occurs when the battery is full or nearly full and the voltage is above 17, it may be a lithium iron. Okay, it's not above 17. Okay, we can all read that together. After reducing the charging parameters, the abnormal alarm disappears. Even reducing the charging parameters, the abnormal alarm persists. Okay, so I may have to read over that a little bit more, but let's take a look over here. Excuse me. 56%. Definitely more than that. This thing's just going haywire on me is what it is. So let's go over to here. Let's go down to user mode. User mode, and then we're going to go down and just check all these capacities here. 14.4. Actually lowered that last night. I already did what they told me to do before they told me to do it. Those are pretty much the settings for the battery. Now, let's go over to, oh, whoops. Here. I want to go, wait a minute. Max battery voltage, 14.3. I think that's an important one to look at, everybody, including the technicians at Renogy. Max battery voltage, 14.3. So that's not even the 14.4 I have it set at, and this thing is still getting triggered if I'm looking at this scenario correctly. So, which is interesting to me. So load state on, battery state of charge. Let's take another look here at history. 14.3. Take a gander at all that. Everything seems to be, like history, everything seems to be within realm. So let's take a look over here at the Renogy controller. The DC is back on now. Thought there might be a history here, but there's not. So let's take a look at the, let's go over to here. Let's go to there. And historical data there. Max battery volts, 14.79. I'm not sure when that came into play exactly, but it's not showing up on the controller. But this is something that's been there for quite a while, I believe. We're going to check one of my other videos, take a look at her, and then take a look at some of the other things that Renogy's saying, try to figure this out. Okay. Okay, so welcome back to the shed again. This is the third time the Renogy Rover 60 amp controller has malfunctioned and thrown up a over voltage alarm, which is unfortunate. This thing's been running flawless since last summer, and all of a sudden it's just like the last week is just ooh, what the heck's in the air, throwing up error after error. Let's go ahead and take a look at it. So basically you can see we hit 100%. We've been mostly overcast here today, but I didn't have a lot to charge. So basically, oh, and by the way, this stayed on because I actually hooked up the one core, still hooked to this, but now I have this terminal here is hooked up to the main battery right here. So as opposed to before, it was at the load out. So definitely that rules out the load out. Okay, that's what I got to say about that. It's just happening now. So it's at 14 volts right now. It's 100% charged, which we already know that. Let's go down, looking up at the flashing light. We're throwing up the same errors as before. So let's go ahead and take a look at those errors. God, I don't remember how to navigate this menu. So basically, I think I went the wrong way with this. No, I didn't. Battery over voltage. I don't see how. Because when we look at the history, let's go back. Let's look at history. Okay. So history. Let's go to here. 5 days ago. Or 5 days ago. Let's go down to, let's try 1 day ago. 14.3 volts. Max battery voltage. Okay. And that was either today or yesterday. I don't know how they do their coding here. So let's go back. Let's go 0 days again. 0 days, which may be today. 14.4 volts. And that's where I have it set at. So let's go ahead and let's flicker on over here. Okay. We'll go over to checking here. So that way you guys can see where I'm at. Over voltage discharge 14.4. Oh, maybe that's what it's supposed to do. I don't know. Renogy can give me some insight to this right here and not shut down the whole controller, or if that's just what it's supposed to be doing, let me know. Charge limit voltage 14.4. At anywho, right now she's down to 14 volts, so I don't know what's going on, but hey, I bet you anything, if I turn some lights on, get a load going on this, things will click back on, because that's usually what it takes. Okay, well, there you have it. Oh, let's do one more thing. We'll check out over here. And by the way, I thought that over voltage, you know, for the controller was like 17 volts. Maybe that's a max. I mean, you set it to users, whatever you set it to. But in saying that, should it just crash the whole system? I don't know. I don't know. Let's go up here to here. Whoops. I'm not going to add a device. Let's go to there. 14.1. Let's go to historical data. 14.79. That was from a long time ago. And that's still, according to the charger itself, not maxed out. So, well, there you have it. I don't know if it's an error. I've adjusted it. As you said, Renogy, I was at 14.6 and it did this. I adjusted it even before you had me do it down to 14.4. It's still doing that. I could go lower if you wanted to. I'm not going to take it any higher than 14.6 though, because that's what the battery manufacturer specifies. So at any rate, heck, if anybody's got an idea on what's going on with all this, I'd certainly appreciate it. And, you know, that includes Renogy support. You know, so far the support's been pretty good with me, but I think this one may be baffling them a little bit, baffling you guys, whoever's watching it, you know, I don't know. I just want to get to the root of the problem and get it figured out. I do have another Renogy controller identical to this one. Right now we're going into some big rain days, so I may or may not switch it over and then wait for some sunny days. to see if it can replicate the problem, and that way I can see if it's, that would eliminate anything but that controller if it doesn't happen again. The bummer about it though is I've got new panels I want to set up. I'm looking to expand the system, and it's just like things like this. I want to know what the problem with this controller is, so I feel safe either using it for something else or selling it to somebody or giving it away. But I can't do that if it's unsafe. It just ends up being a big old paperweight. So we'll see what happens, and I'll keep you guys in updated. Thanks for tuning in. Bye. Okay, in this next scene here, basically I wanted to see what happens when I decrease the battery voltage, you know, kind of rapidly actually, so I could get to the point that I wanted, you know, because anything over like 13.2, 13.3, somewhere in there, it's just surface voltage. So you throw a heavy load on it, it drops down quick. So it could be like 14.4 and go down to 13.3 pretty darn quickly actually. It's meaningless voltage to me, meaningless charge. I put a cob on there or an induction cooktop and brought it down rapidly, and it kicked back in. It seems like right around 13.5 volts is our magic number, but we'll find out here. We'll see what Renogy's got to say about the whole thing, I think is what it boils down to. And Renogy, I'm looking forward to your answer. I really want a solid answer that solves problems, so that we can have faith. And there's no blame towards anybody. I don't want my money back for this controller, by the way. We'll figure out what to do with it if it is in fact failing. If you guys want it back, I'll send it back. And okay, now we're going to try something to get the voltage to kick back on, and I'm essentially going to create a load on the batteries to get the voltage down, to drop down. I'm running on mainly just surface charge right now. So if you take a look here, we are at let's go ahead and click that on, let it tune in. 13.9 volts, just 14 volts down from where it was at. Our warning lights are still on and flashing. And so right now I've got negative 1.21 amps. Now, I've got some string lights outside. You can probably see them hanging up there. And I've just got the breaker off right now, but we'll turn that on. Now we got the string lights. They kind of hard to see here, but they are actually on. And we are pulling in 5.56 amps right now. Of course, you know, it dropped down to about 13.8 volts pretty quickly. We were at 14.2, something like that. I also brought in my handy dandy cob or induction cooktop here, just to kind of like add some more to it. So let's go ahead and let's put on max sear. We're going to go start and just rack it up here. We're going to be pulling down some amps and watts now. So initially it comes out at 113 amps. Yeah, maybe initially it will. That kicked on pretty quick. Let's see what the inverter's doing. 1438 watts. 108 amps. That baby pulls the amperage, man. That's amazing, actually. But I've got a pretty good setup here. Okay, so look at this, guys. It actually, the charger started working. It dropped it down to 13.3 volts pretty rapidly. I wish I would have had that on film or video, but it turned it back on. So there's a threshold in there that when it hits down to that certain voltage, it kicks back on. I want to know more about that, Renogy. Errors have gone away. We're in good shape now. At the end of the day, is it doing what it's supposed to, or is it malfunctioning? Because it wasn't doing this before. That's the whole thing. It would charge up and it would go into that, you know, float voltage or whatever it is, where it just kind of rides at the top there. And now it's not working like that. The whole thing shuts down, load out, everything does. So you tell me if it's a faulty controller or if it's just doing what it's supposed to. I personally think it's a faulty controller, but heck, I don't know. Thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for checking in, and let's hope for some good answers or explanations. I'm good either way. Thanks. So in this clip, of course, it threw up an error again, and I was at work when it happened, and I came home and came right out to the tool shed here, and as I got into the shed and started setting everything up, and as soon as I started running the video again, or filming it, whatever you want to call it, it actually corrected itself. And I believe it had dropped down at that point to, like, when I looked at it, 13.4, 13.5 volts. So definitely, as the voltage drops, the controller seems to kick back on, and the load out kicks back on with it. Real question is, why? Okay, so we're back again with the, wait a minute, it just started, that's incredible. It just started working as I was talking. Huh, what changed? It dropped down to 13.5 volts. Let's take a look here. Interesting. So I hit 13.5 volts and the air went off. I hope I got that on film because it was in over battery over voltage state, and then it clicked down. But the battery voltage is pretty much been like, it just doesn't go over 14.4 volts. I can promise you guys that. Holy cow. That was serendipity, actually. So let's go to here. Serendipitous. Charging amps are now 16 amps. We've got voltage 13.58. So it seems like if it drops down below 13.6, it kicks in, or 13.6, then the controller kicks back on. But it gets up to a certain point, things are not so happy in the old solar world there. Well, that's the way it goes, huh? Huh. Anyways, Renogy, let me know what's going on with that. Is that normal behavior? Because it wasn't doing that last fall. I didn't do it all winter. I've had some really good Sundays too, throughout the winter, and now it's just like malfunction. I don't know if it's a malfunction or what's going on. It wasn't doing it before. It's doing it now. So a solid explanation would be great. Say the least, we're gonna, after we figure out what's going on with this, I am going to add a second controller and additional panels. And we want to make sure everything's running fine. We don't want to burn the house down. We don't want to burn the shed down. You know what I mean? So, anywho, let us know what's going on, Renogy. Or if anybody else out there has an idea for me, let me know what's going on, because this is important. Thanks, guys. Okay, so here's like an end to the end. It's a consistent problem now. It happens, on most days. It's becoming more frequent. I want to reinforce, I'm not looking for money back from this thing or returning it, looking for an answer. If that's not possible and it is a controller error, and Renogy, you want it back to study what's happening, I'll gladly send it back to you. I don't really particularly want another controller like this. I have another one, actually. I do want to run 2 of these in parallel and see how that works before I move on to my next phase of solar stuff, which there's more to come, you guys, with other systems and more Renogy stuff to come. So stay tuned. Check in later, and I'll make another video when Renogy replies. Sorry about the length of this video. It's the best I can do, and I wanted to condense it all into one video for Renogy's sake, so they're not having to figure out what 3 videos to watch or what 4 videos to watch. So thanks, you guys. Stay tuned. We'll have a problem solved before long, and I'll let you guys in on it.